Shalimar by Guerlain. This is an Eau de Toilette. 4 more years. Let me try to get to where you can see Shalimar. Pretty bottle, isn't it? 4 more years and this lady will be 100 years old. This come out in 1925. So she's almost 100 years old. Good for her. Guerlain is my favorite house. I have more Guerlain fragrances than any other fragrance. I know it's 25 plus Guerlains that I have. I love Guerlain. I reviewed her a year and a half ago, like right around January 2020 is when I talked about her. I didn't have a lot of good things to say about her, and a lot of people didn't like that. But that's okay. I was honest about my opinion and my feelings about this, so everything was good. Shalimar is one of the most loved fragrances ever, period. The history and heritage behind Shalimar is incredible. And as far as I know, everybody in the fragrance community loves her. But a year and a half ago, I talked about her, I reviewed her, and a year and a half later, today, I want to talk about her again. I want to make this short and sweet. I don't want to go into too much detail. I just want to tell you my thoughts and opinions about her. I'll tell you what I get from the first half, and I'll tell you what I get from the second half of the life of this fragrance. The first half, it's really feminine, it's really powdery, it's got a creaminess to it like a vanilla. But the most dominant thing in the first half of the fragrance is a funk. This has a funk in it, and it's leaning towards an animalic funk, like a wet dog funk. But it's like a chemical wet dog funk. I'm not going to go into detail about that and try to explain. It's like a chemical wet dog funk. And that's the strongest thing in the first half of this fragrance. The second half of this fragrance is there's less of that chemical wet dog smell. There's less animalic in the second half, but it's still present. It's still very feminine. It's still powdery. There is a vanilla that comes in the mid that I think was in the first half of the fragrance, but I can tell like it's a creamy vanilla in the second half of the fragrance. Along with the rose. There is a rose that comes in the mid and all the way to the end of the dry down. And that rose is the only thing that I like about this fragrance. Vanilla is my favorite note, but the vanilla in here is an artificial vanilla. It doesn't smell real to me. It's a really artificial, powdery vanilla. It's not really synthetic. Synthetic and artificial, as far as perfumes and fragrances, are different sometimes for me. There's synthetic vanilla and there's artificial vanilla. This is more of an artificial vanilla. It's not really synthetic, but it's not natural either. I don't like it. I didn't like it a year and a half ago, and I don't like it now. I don't really like anything about this fragrance except that rose that comes in the mid. The rose is actually pretty nice, but everything else is like artificial, too feminine, too powdery, and that dog chemical smell is just a huge turn off to me. So it's a no for me, a big no actually. But I appreciate her. I respect her. I appreciate her. But I just don't like her. I don't. It's not for me at all. Uh, I wish I did like this, or I wish I loved this, but I don't. And I'm not going to make myself like this or love this just because everybody else does, and just because of the heritage and the history and the story behind this and everything behind this. I'm not going to make myself do that. And that's one thing that I like about myself. I do. I like that about myself, that no matter what the story is, no matter what the heritage or the history, and it doesn't matter if everybody else in the fragrance community loves a fragrance. Um, I just have to be honest, and it's like I either like it, think it's okay, or hate it, or whatever, and I just do not like this fragrance, and I'm okay with that. Love you guys.